All right, pleased to be joined now by Trey Huntsman. Trey is a former podcast host for KSR, Kentucky Sports Radio, did their baseball content, also was a beat writer for the University of Kentucky baseball team, currently works for the Kentucky Roadshow Card Shop. So, Trey Huntsman, a baseball guy through and through. Trey, thanks for joining the program.
Man, absolutely. I've been following you guys actually on Twitter for a while. Really good buddies with Craig through cards and everything. So when he asked me to do this, it was easiest yes ever.
Well, I don't know who Craig's not friends with. I think
Exactly.
Craig knows anyone and everyone out there, but appreciate Craig setting this up. So, Trey, you're a Kentucky guy. How are you a Dodgers guy? Is it just the blue? Just a big fan of
I
blue?
guess it matches. But in all seriousness, it was Vin Scully whenever I was probably 16 through like 18. I just started listening to Vin, and it kind of became a thing like with my dad. And it was just a really special group. And I've been a Clayton Kershaw fan essentially since he debuted, and just loved the franchise ever since, loved the history of it. Lexington has a lot of Dodger ties with a lot of the guys that are on the team. Like last year, I had Walker Buehler, a lot of Kentucky guys like Will Smith that have come through. So my wife and I, whenever we got together, she was a Dodgers fan as well. So it just kind of meshed well. And ever since then, it's 162 nights a year. It's whatever they're doing is kind of whatever we're doing.
Yeah, I loved Vin Scully. I would every night for years would fall asleep to Vin Scully. Not a Dodgers fan, just there's no better soundtrack to fall asleep to every night than Vin Scully putting on Dodger games. Yeah, Vin is was the absolute best. So certainly understand that. Well, let's jump in to this series here. Obviously, the Dodgers are heavy favorites against the Reds, but the Reds have a chance in a best of 3 series. I was honestly surprised. I think Fangraphs has the Reds almost with a 33% chance of winning. And I think that just goes to show you how random baseball can be over a 3-game set. But Trey, correct me if I'm wrong on this. It feels like the Dodgers this season, they didn't screw around all year. But obviously, the expectation was for them not to be playing in the wild card round. I mean, I think everyone thought they were going to win 120 games when they went out and signed Sasaki. But it feels like the Dodgers prioritized health over trying to win every single game throughout the year. That's why they're in this series and not getting a bye like Milwaukee and Philly. But their starting pitching is significantly healthier than it was on the team that won the World Series last year.
Yeah, it is a completely different configured team than what we saw last year. But also throughout this year, you saw Mookie Betts probably struggling more than he ever has in his career. He fought off a nasty illness at the start of the year, lost a ton of weight. It affected his swing. You could see it earlier in the season. But then you look in August and September, he's been one of the best hitters in baseball since then. He's playing his best baseball right now. And a lot of those injuries have kind of lingered through a lot of the season with Roki being out, a lot of our younger pitching that we were relying on to either be extra bullpen pieces or extra pieces in that rotation have taken maybe a little bit longer to come back or haven't come back at all. And whenever you really get down to the root of a lot of the struggles this year, 2 of the biggest free agent signings, Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott, it's been tough to rely on those guys in late innings. Tanner Scott has completely imploded at times. Blake Trinan has struggled since coming back. He's really struggled to find a lot of his off-speed stuff. And the bullpen has been the biggest issue for this team. Now, getting kind of into what you said about the health, getting Roki Sasaki back, that's a bullpen piece now. Emmett Sheen, he is now going to be a bullpen piece. These younger guys that we've waited, kind of like, are they going to be healthy? Are they not? Now they are. And now they can be a part of that bullpen and help Yamamoto, help Snell. And we kind of know Ohtani's not going to go more than 5 or 6 innings. You have to be ready whenever in that eventual game 3, you got to be ready. If he were to, go 4 innings, it's like, okay, who's up next in an elimination game?
So in some ways, the Dodgers might be benefiting a little bit of a 3-game series because they can manipulate their pitching just to cover 3 games, where their bullpen might get exposed more over 7. I still think from a Reds perspective, you'd rather just, only need to win 2 games and have a chance and be done. But from the Dodgers perspective, it should be a little bit easier for them to cover innings over 3 games versus if they get later in the postseason, a 7-game series.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. And the key just early in this, the Reds have to get into that bullpen against Snell in game 1. That's kind of like a non-negotiable. He's been pitching great lately. In the 3-game series at Dodger Stadium, the Reds scored 2 runs against Dodger starters. And that cannot be what they do when they get to LA, because they've got to attack early at Snell, get into the bullpen. And while Roki has been good, if he's like option number 1, he's still hittable at times. And then you get into Trina and you get into Scott Yates, if it's Justin Robleski, whoever it is, if you can get into that bullpen in game 1 and then force Yamamoto to be pitching in an elimination game, then that is, I think, task number 1 for the Reds, is getting into that bullpen, because that's where our biggest struggles have been this season. Yamamoto in September had 3 starts where he allowed 1 hit. He got 0 wins in those games.
Wow.
They were, obviously you had the no-hitter where the bullpen kind of imploded after he left on that double by Holiday. And then it was horrible. That was one of my favorite games this season. But the next 2, he, 1 hit, no wins. And a lot of that chalk up to the lack of run support, but also just really poor bullpen play. So that's really where the Reds, I think, will be able to strike if the offense can get going.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about this game 1 matchup. Obviously, the Reds got their guy, Hunter Greene. The Dodgers going with Blake Snell. Blake Snell has only made like 10 starts all year. Was injured for a large portion of the year, came back at the end of August. Last 3 starts, how about 19 innings, 1 earned run, 5 walks, 28 strikeouts. That's a 0.47 ERA. So he is pitching obviously very well. Reds fans know he threw a no-hitter against the Reds last year in a San Francisco Giants uniform. Snell should be a little bit more rested than he probably would be normally at this point of the year. Do you think the Dodgers would have thrown him no matter what for game 1, or is it just because he obviously threw a no-hitter against the Reds? The Reds overall have not hit lefties as well as righties, although they have hit lefties a little bit better of late than maybe they did before. Do you think he was starting against anyone, or is this a Reds matchup?
Man, I really do think he was going to be starting against anyone. And Roberts is really playing in favor of playing the guys playing the best baseball right now. And I think he wanted to go out there, have Snell in game 1, and then Yamamoto in game 2. Is, if that's your elimination pitcher, you're feeling pretty good about that. I'm excited to see Hunter Greene. It's kind of cool, LA guy pitching in game 1 of, the wild card round at Dodger Stadium. But I mean, we've hit him pretty well in his career. And I think you can check me on this, but I think it's like a 4.5 ERA against the Dodgers for his career. So I'm not at like Hunter Greene, obviously extremely talented, but I'm very interested to see how Roberts lets Snell go, because I mean, one of the most famous baseball memories of the last few years is the Kevin Cash taking Snell out early and everything.
Yeah.
Snell was in the 7th inning the other day. Roberts comes to get him on the mound, and Snell says, "Go back." Literally tells him, "Turn around. I'm finishing this thing." So he's a completely different guy. He's a guy that is fresh going into this series, because like you said, he hasn't pitched a whole lot this year. He's fresh. He is playing some of his best ball. And like you said, he's got a no-hitter against the Reds. The history's there. And he's probably going to feel pretty comfortable against that lineup.
I think Hunter Greene, if memory serves me correct, I think he's had several starts against the Dodgers where he was absolutely dominant for about 4 innings, and then either in the 5th or 6th inning, it kind of got away from me. Ended up with like one of those starts where it looked like he was having one of those nights, and he ends up walking away, giving away 3 or 4 earned runs. It feels like that's happened every time for Hunter Greene. Ohtani's just 1 for 7 against him. Freeman is 4 for 15. Edman, who we've seen the most from St. Louis, 7 for 18. Betts 3 for 9. So not necessarily crazy numbers. But overall, that is an 800 OPS, so that's not bad for a guy of Hunter Greene's caliber. There is nothing better than September baseball and grilling out, and I've started using Omaha Steaks for all my grilling needs. And now, during their Red Hot Sale event, you can get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $35 off with the promo code Chatterbox at checkout. It's so great to have steaks, hamburgers, and gourmet hot dogs always in my freezer, ready to go. It's so convenient for me to go online and order. I like the value freezer filler package to stay stocked up. The steaks are perfectly aged, hand-cut, and USDA certified tender. The burgers are mouth-watering and grass-fed, but don't sleep on the gourmet hot dogs. They are seriously the best hot dogs I've ever had. Plus, they also carry chicken, pork, seafood, and fantastic desserts. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot Sale event. And for an extra $35 off, use our promo code Chatterbox at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code Chatterbox, CHETTERBOX, at checkout. See site for details. It's kind of murderer's row, the first 3, 4. I'm a big Max Muncy guy. I think he's one of the most underrated players in baseball. The bottom of the lineup, and I say this with caution because Pa has hit 2 home runs in a game against the Reds this year, but the bottom of the lineup is obviously where you want to force the Dodgers to beat you. Is that correct?
Yeah, and especially with some of the health issues, it does sound like Edman and Muncy are both going to be good to go, but both of those guys have had lingering injuries through a lot of the season. Of course, Muncy had the injury that when it happened in Kershaw's 3,000 strikeout game, I really thought it was it. I thought that his knee was gone. But I think Edman's got the ankle thing that he's been lingering, and then, of course, Muncy has had a lot of stuff throughout the year. But from what Roberts has said, those guys are going to be good to go tomorrow. But you have guys like Michael Conforto that are hitting at the bottom of it. And it's been a grind at the bottom of the lineup. It's kind of 50-50 if Ha-Seong Kim is going to make the roster. And today, Roberts did say that Will Smith was going to take BP, and they're going to kind of see how that goes. If Will Smith is in, and obviously, you know, the Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Teoscar, Pages, if you throw Will Smith in there and that's your top 6, you can kind of piece together the rest of it at the bottom and try to figure it out a little bit. But the key, I think, is going to be getting Edman going. What he did in the postseason last year, he was kind of the cog of that lineup, hitting at the bottom half, table setting for Ohtani, table setting for Mookie. So we'll see. I am not super confident in the bottom of the lineup. It's been an Achilles heel for part of the season, but if Ha-Seong Kim and Edman, those guys kind of get it going, I think they'll figure it out.
I don't think people realize maybe how good Will Smith was playing before he got hurt. I mean, a 153 WRC plus had an on-base percentage over 400. I mean, he was like a non-Ohtani year MVP candidate.
Yeah.
Like, that's really how good he was playing. I guess, though, you still would have some nerves, I would assume, with a guy that hasn't played that long. How easy is it for him to roll out of bed and face Hunter Greene?
Exactly. But it's all good because, I mean, the Dodgers' best hitter, Ben Rortvedt, is going to jog out there. He's actually been awesome, just kind of like in a fun way.
Great. He was great in that Diamondback series. Obviously, we were watching a lot of it. He was impressive. Yeah,
and then yesterday, you know, it's Kershaw's second to last inning or whatever, and Mariners steal set, or it's a pass ball. Rortvedt gets the ball, throws it to second, drills Kershaw in the back. Kershaw's like kneeled down. It's like his second to last inning. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like he's going to go out with a ball on his back and have to leave in his last start. But yeah, I mean, if you can get Will Smith in that lineup, because he does so much more for you than just the OPS. And, you know, he obviously was one of the best slugging catchers in baseball at the time of his injury. All-Star, was kind of what was making the lineup go after the All-Star break, because the offense was quiet. Mookie was still struggling. It was kind of like, okay, is Teoscar Hernandez's power gone? It's like, well, you know, Will Smith is still having this kind of season. He goes down, and after that injury, what is he going to be like in this postseason? Do you want his first game back tomorrow to be against Hunter Greene? Or is it, you know, still Dalton Rushing? Is it Ben Rortvedt and then kind of ramping Will Smith up? But, I mean, no matter what, he's the kind of bat, even if he's coming off the bench, like that's a guy that's like, okay, 8th inning, that's a nice one to have in the hole.
All right. Clayton Kershaw not going to be on the roster. I'm assuming the plan would be if they advance, he starts in the NLDS. I know Kershaw pitched out of relief against the Diamondbacks. Were you surprised? Do you think this was a mistake? I guess risking Kershaw's career ending without him being on a roster.
It was kind of like a shell shock thing when it happens, because it's like, oh my gosh, like a Dodgers postseason roster without Kershaw. And part of me does get it, because he had the injury to start the season. He has been going deeper and deeper into games this year, probably more than I was actually expecting him to. But he's pitched on Sunday, so his natural rotation, his natural rest would have been to go again on Friday. So I get that Roberts was like, okay, we want to have a fresh arm coming out of the bullpen and not risk it, because I do love him. I love him so much. It hasn't always been the best coming out of the bullpen in the postseason. There's been some good memories. There's been some bad memories of him coming out, but I'll miss him on the roster. I get it, though. I understood it. It's like, okay, would we rather have him as a potential bullpen guy maybe on Thursday? Because you're not going to use him probably on Tuesday or Wednesday. But that way he's fresh. He's going into the Philly series, especially if the Dodgers were to win in 2. Then you can go Ohtani, Kershaw, and then a natural rotation against the Phillies after that for the potential final 3 games. So it was fine if it means like, okay, we get Landon Knack in there, who looked awesome on Sunday against the Mariners, or if it's you bring Ben Kasparius back up as a fresh arm. I'm not sure. We have not seen the postseason roster yet for the wild card. We just know the bits and pieces of it. But it was fine. We'll just get him ready to go for the division series, hopefully.
Fair or not, I don't think there's any Reds fans that are upset that he's not on the roster. Kershaw has dominated the Reds throughout his career. All right, last question for you, Trey. This is going to be a tough one, but I'm going to throw you a tough one here. Blake Snell only goes 5 innings in game 1. Map out the rest of the game. What would you think is the most likely scenario for the Dodgers to try to finish the game? And obviously, that's a very tough question because the bullpen is so in flux right now.
I'm not going to lie. My heart seriously kind of started beating a little bit faster trying to come up with that, because that's like the worst nightmare. And it's probably, there's a very real possibility that that's what happens. I think best case scenario, Snell gives you 6. So I do think that the way that things are trending, that there's a really good chance that Roki comes out pretty early if Snell goes short. That's kind of like if you look at some of the last week, Roki was going like some of those middle innings, kind of like a plug for an inning or 2. So I would say, oh gosh, it's so bad. It's just not good. I would probably say Snell to Roki. And then, it obviously depends on lefty righty. If you go with Bonda in there as well, it's all situations there. I think you would see him in some capacity. Your goal is to really not have to use Trinan in any way. I mean, it's been a disaster. His first appearance back was actually in Cincinnati for the Yamamoto game, and that was brutal. But I think after you do that, I think Jack Dreyer is probably involved in some capacity. He's closed games. He's gone long. He's a fun bullpen arm. And then that's kind of when you get into, like Tanner Scott territory to close it out, or whoever Roberts really feels like can get those 3 outs in the 9th. And Roberts in the postseason at times does deviate a little bit from the traditional, like where it's like, okay, it's 9th inning, we're going to our closer. He does really like to dive into those situations and go look at lefties and righties. We've seen, Buehler closing out the World Series last year, Kershaw pitching in the, I try to remember what inning it was in the World Series against the Rays, but he likes to kind of plug and play batter by batter and try to figure it out. But I would say right now that Dreyer would be a big one for me in that game 1 if Snell were to go down. And I would also use Bonda in there as well in game 1. But perfect situation, Snell goes 7, and then you can plug them in however you feel best on the lineup for the 8th and 9th. But hopefully a lot of Dreyer, and hopefully we see Tanner Scott feeling a little bit more comfortable in the 9th.
And you think Tanner is pretty well the set closer right now?
I wouldn't say like he is like absolutely set right now. He has been we've mixed it up a little bit. We've seen a lot of Alex Vezia. Vezia had a rough appearance last week, but in terms of just how comfortable he has been recently, he just tied his career high in saves. And that kind of made me wonder a little bit. It's like, okay, is Roberts gearing him up a little bit more to be closing out some of these games? Potentially. And he's been comfortable in that role. And Vezia also is kind of that like fire and brimstone kind of pitcher out of the bullpen. He's going to come. He's kind of a spaz a little bit, but you have to have a little bit of that in the postseason. So I would say you would probably see Vezia in game 1 as well, especially in a close game. Like I said, though, the hope is you can avoid using like Trinan and a lot of those guys in non-high leverage moments, because Vezia, Dreyer, I would say right now are the 2 guys that I would feel the most comfortable putting out there.
All right. Well, Trey, really do appreciate your time. Great info on the Dodgers, and we'll see what happens. Rolling out the ball 9:08 p.m. tonight. Trey, good luck to you, my friend.
Same to you guys. It's going to be a fun series.
Deep South Commodities is a proud supporter of Chatterbox Reds and our Deep Drive of the Day, and DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks, as always, to our friends at DSC. And we also want to remind you that you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health. Whether it's an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between, it's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay not to be okay.